Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the good old Triple A podcast, which AKA means the amazing Anthony, and the other A is silent there. But I'm glad to hear you guys back. Today we're going to be talking about a new film called Soul, and today I have a special guest who, by the way, is also known as Anthony, aka Anthony there. Welcome to the show.
Hey, how you doing? This is great. Nice to finally be here. This is like your first episode?
Yeah, it's my first. My first episode.
The first
after
the remodel, reshape after the previous
that
guy.
whole terrible other podcast. Ugh, it was disgusting just to listen to.
I don't even remember the name of it. But
exactly.
It's probably not even important.
No.
Kind of idea. No. But still, great to be here. Gotta say. So, how's your podcast going to differ from the other guy?
Absolutely nothing will differ. It's just I'm here. I have a better voice, and what can I say? I'm just better.
You are.
Exactly.
It's more silky, more calming, I think. The other guy kind of had too much ha-hoo.
Yeah, it was annoying.
Yeah, instead, because, figure people listen to podcasts in cars, so you don't want to scare them. You really just want them to be at ease.
You don't want to go, pow! And stuff like that. That was the problem we mainly had with the other dude, and that's the reason, I took over, and I was just like, yeah, we don't want you anymore.
Yeah. I mean, could you imagine, driving down the road, and then suddenly you just hear, look out!
It's like, bro, what? It's like, bro, come on!
You driving like that? We've caused 3 crashes. So,
by the way, that is how you drive, by the way, but...
Yeah.
Just letting them know.
Listen to my Uber application. Lyft is never going to take me now. So, I guess, this is your podcast, so I really can't open it.
Hello. Welcome, everybody, to the Triple A podcast. I know, amazing, a brand new name.
Will you get copyright claimed for the AAA, insurance company?
Welcome, everybody, to the Triple A with the silent A podcast, changing it up. So I cannot be copyrighted because the other A is silent, so it's actually double A with an extra A at the end.
True. Plus, it's only AAA. Their logo is only 3A,
exactly.
So it's not triple A.
Exactly. We have the Triple A. Not to mention that the A is silent as well, so it's easy.
What are you gonna do? And we don't talk insurance here.
We
talk films and all that.
Yeah.
But either way, great to be here on the show.
Mm-hmm.
Gotta say.
So, by the way, what film are we doing today? I kind of forgot to do all my reading. I kind of forgot to pick a show
please.
Or movie.
Allow me, as your guest, to read the information. So, hello everybody. My name is Jared. This is Anthony, his podcast. He's decided to take over since I haven't been here for quite a bit. For everybody who's still here, thank you. You guys are the real ones. For people who are just joining, welcome. Most podcasts are like this, where it's just kind of all over the place, but we got a good time. But today we are going to be talking about the 2020 Soul film, which came out on Christmas from Disney Pixar. It was directed by Pete Docter, had a budget of around $150 million. At the box office, it made $116 million.
Ooh,
but that's only because it released
cool,
on Disney Plus. So in fairness, you're going to watch it on your home rather than get in the car on Christmas. But yeah, overall, it had a lot going for it in the sense that it was trying something new, especially during the COVID-19 pandemic and everything going on. Overall, I don't know how I want to word this, but in the sense of the story that it's trying to tell differs greatly from Cars or Monsters Inc. where it has this fantasy kind of element. This was more...
It's kind of more realistic with
its topics and themes.
Yeah, it's very realistic with the themes, and I wouldn't really say it's not, how do I say? I guess you could say it's kind of realistic fiction. I wouldn't say fantasy.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is why I wanted to start this podcast off by going, before we even start, do you consider Soul to be a kid's movie?
I consider the themes of what it wants to say to be more adult. But I do consider the way it was made as to be a kid's film. But when it comes to the themes and the way it went through, I'd say it's more of a teenage to even adult type film.
Yeah, because I have my nieces have watched it, and the one that can talk, I talked to her about it, and I'm like, "How did you like the film?" And she honestly had no idea what was happening. I'm like, "What did you learn from the film?" Nothing.
Because I feel like it's really hard for those type of kids. They're young. So like it's kind of hard for them to understand like how like going through life. Like I feel like it's definitely more for an older crowd. Like, I'd even say people like around even high school, because I even feel like at times like that you can kind of feel the same way that the main character feels. You know what I mean?
Yeah, especially with like the type of motivations that he has. But yeah, I want to start off with that. Let's dive on into the soul and see if we can find the soul of the movie. There we go.
Mm-hmm.
Boom. Fun. So, our story begins with good old Joe Gardner, who's a pianist and a middle school, high school teacher. He's a middle school teacher, right?
Yeah, I think middle school. I don't know if it's.
It's
can't
filled with a
remember if it
room
was
full
middle
of
school.
teenagers who are full of themselves, so
Probably
middle
middle school.
Yeah. So, he's living in New York, and his job is to essentially play in a big jazz band. But as it stands now, he's kind of stuck in this job that I guess he wanted, but he didn't.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of more of his dreams are taking the sideline as more of a hobby than anything.
And then he finally he goes, I forgot what it is. He goes to like this show place. And he finally gets his chance.
Yeah, the half note.
Yeah, he finally gets his chance over there. And he plays, and I forgot who the girl was. Really liked how he played, and then he has to now, the whole point
Dorothea Williams.
Yeah, Dorothea, and the whole point of it is for him now to have to go to the show to show, what he has so he could be part of the band.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And throughout like this whole opening scene, because I've watched this movie a couple times, it really does. At first, I thought when I first saw it, it opened way too quick. You go from Joe's alive to suddenly, okay, we're in the great beyond, which we'll talk about later. But it moves very quickly. And then after I watched it more, I'm like, you really don't need to build the world of New York because people can assume what New York is.
And not touching that, when it comes to like New York, I feel like so many films have already built to know what New York is, that people already have an image of what New York is. So like, what's the point of keep building it? But I mean, it's just that there is places where it does help to build it, like later on when 22 takes over.
Yeah,
it still helps to build up more of New York and helps to show like parts of New York that you really don't see in like other films.
Yeah, like especially more of like the smaller crevices and details that you see. But yeah, as you were saying, Joe gets his big break finally. After working for years, he finally is able to work with jazz legend Dorothea Williams. He auditions, he plays the piano, and this is the first time that we see what is supposed to be the zone, which I had some confusion about the zone. And okay, I'm going to jump ahead in the film a little bit. So, near the end of the film, Joe's at his piano, and he's playing a little ditty, he's playing a little song, and then suddenly he's back in the zone, and his soul is there, and then he can just jump from the piano into the great before like it's no problem.
Yeah, I will say that it's kind of confusing. Like they tried to explain it, I think in the beginning, if I remember, like they were trying to explain it with how it works, but even then it's still kind of like, I feel like it kind of I say it's kind of overstretching. Like they really stretched like what the meaning and definition is. But then again, like I said, this is an animated film.
They're kind of like, how can we get him there in the easiest way? Oh, okay.
Yeah. By not having him die.
Yeah. He falls down another manhole.
Ah, dang.
Which is exactly what happens. Joe is walking down the street, talking on the phone, going, I got the gig! And after a couple Tom and Jerry scenes where he nearly dies, he falls down a manhole and is supposedly dead. And this is where we see the great after, or the great beyond.
Mm-hmm. Which he tries to run away from because he's finally going to live his dream, and that causes him to run the opposite direction instead of going into the great light. If I remember,
yeah. It was just like something is there, and souls fly up, they get zapped, and then he goes and he runs away.
Mm-hmm.
Here, and I know I'm gonna be criticizing this film. Don't get me wrong, I like the film, but is the hat that Joe wears so significant to his character that it is part of his soul?
Bro, it's like he was born with that hat, man. Let me tell you, he was born with that hat.
Came out of the womb and he's like a lady.
It never came. Like, bro, that hat has been stuck with him for his whole life. He just can't lose it. Can't lose that hat.
Oh yeah, it's like Woody. Like same thing with the hat. Another Pixar film.
Well, to be fair, Woody, he was made with, like I said, he was made with the hat.
He literally was
and
made
so
with the hat.
And so that hat to him is very important because it kind of, to him, that's how he sees himself. Without the hat, is he like, what is he? Is he just a normal toy? Because I feel like that hat is kind of what makes him a cowboy. And that's like what he sees himself as. Like, he needs that hat to be complete.
Yeah, but so like if I went up there, like I die, and then suddenly it's like I get to the great beyond, would I go with like a camera? Like, it's mine.
I wouldn't say a camera. You'd probably go in with a Disney shirt,
Yeah, little Mickey ears going, I'm ready. So, of course, he decides, Joe's like, it is not my time to die yet, and after rushing through, he kind of phases through the border and just starts falling, and this is where we're finally gone through probably one of the coolest little scenes in the whole thing, which they're just disguising as an animatic. It's just a bunch of 2D images, him falling down, kind of.
But it looks really cool.
It looks really cool, but at the same point, I kind of got it, kind of didn't. But gets there, goes through a portal, and now he's in the Great Before. And he meets with all the different counselors, and the counselors are like, "Oh, you must be a mentor. Oh, I'm Jerry. You can go to Jerry. Go over there to Jerry. Thanks, Jerry." Who's your favorite Jerry?
You know what? I'd say the third Jerry.
Third Jerry. I was more of a fourth.
I looked at the fourth Jerry, but he felt too nice. Just too nice.
Yeah. Well, could you imagine, like, oh man, I wish I watched the credits more, because then you could see Jerry 1, Jerry 2, Jerry 3, Terry. So. Of course, Joe's like, okay, I gotta blend in. I'll blend in around, kind of see what I can do. He decides to be a mentor of Bjorgensen, some Swedish or kind of guy. And after learning more about the Great Before, he discovers that in order to go to Earth, you need to fill out what's called an Earth Pass, which is essentially as soon as you find your spark, that's when you're able to go down to Earth and actually learn more about it. So he goes, okay, we gotta find the spark. And this is where we're introduced to 22, which, as your guest, can I ask you, do you know why her name is 22?
Actually, I don't.
I thought it was just something that everyone, like Pete Docter, pulled out of the air. Pixar has released 22 films before this one.
Wow, well.
Right? So it was like, all right, okay.
Some better than others. AKA,
Cars!
No, but also the reason I say that is just to foreshadow.
Cars 2.
Listen, Cars and Cars 3 were okay. Were good films. I don't care what anyone says.
You want to talk about Cars 2? I noticed you skipped that one.
That's a trash film, and we won't talk about it. But the reason I'm saying 22 because it kind of like the reason I'm saying some are better than others is it kind of foreshadows what my opinion of this film is later on.
What film you talk? Oh, like later in the film?
No, I'm saying like when we review, like that's just foreshadowing what my thoughts of this film are later on.
Yeah. So 22 is voiced by Tina Fey, and she has had tons of these different mentors from there was like a list of
I liked her voice. I liked the voice actor for 22.
Yeah, Tina Fey. She did a good job of kind of like this annoying.
That's honestly basically
Tina Fey, listening, I'm not calling you annoying.
The perfect voice to be like. I don't know. It just works for her. It kind of sounds like kiddish, annoying-ish, and it's like it just works perfectly.
Full of herself, kind of like I know everything. Yeah. So there's a scene where and Anthony, I'm showing you this now. There's a scene where Joe walks by all of these little mentor tags, which is kind of dark. I can imagine that as like a graveyard of like, they're like, I'm done being a mentor, and then they go to the great actor or great beyond. But apparently some of the names that are on that include Martin Luther King Jr., Harriet Tubman, Stephen Hawking, Leonardo da Vinci, Vincent van Gogh, and Joe Grant and Joe Ranft, who were 2 Pixar employees that passed away.
You know, they missed the chance to put Walt Disney up there.
I'm glad you brought that up, because we're getting there. So they go, okay, here's a couple of ways that you can find your spark. You can go to the Hall of Everything, which has everything that can be done on Earth, which we're going to talk about that. Or you can go into kind of like this hallway that shows everything, like all of your great achievements in there. Reason I'm glad you brought up Walt Disney, during the Bjorgensen, that was his name, in that hallway, there's a statue that's very similar to the partner's statue, like the one in the park, of Bjorgensen pointing and him holding the hand of a child. I was like, oh, that's cool. But this little hallway where you can see all of your accomplishments, I did like this scene and I didn't like this scene. And the reason why is because there's I've talked to you about it too and other people, is in the sense that it's not only the things that you do well that make who you are, it's the things that you don't do well or like your failures. So I kind of wish that we could go back into this hall, because when you look at Bjorg Jorgensen, he has tons of these accomplishments. He looks like the perfect person kind of idea. But then when we switch over to Joe Gardner's, you really don't see a lot of positives in it. And one thing I was glad that they pointed on was that it comes from the perspective of the person. And this was a very tiny detail of, there's a scene where when you get like a pan out shot of this area, Joe's eating a slice of pie and he's eating it alone and he's sad, kind of picking at it. But near the end of the film, we see him eating that same pie, but this time he has a giant smile on his face. So his attitude on life and that moment has flipped. So I wish we knew more about this hallway and how it works. I want to know.
But I feel like that's like the fun parts where they leave some mysterious things, and I feel like that's a good thing because it makes you more curious and makes you think more about the film.
Yeah, like it also makes you think more about like your own life.
Yeah.
Which other Inside Out kind of was a good opening to that, of like, okay, well, what are your personality islands, or who is in control of your mind, like anger, sadness, joy. But this one touched more on base of, okay, how do you view your life, and then how do you view everybody's life around you? Which I'm going to do some research on this. There's a word.
You're looking just for one specific word?
One specific word.
Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
When you realize everyone has their own life is Sonder. Sonder is the feeling where you suddenly realize that everybody has their own life, their own story, their own problems, their own successes. So, if I was going to make a short film, Sonder would be a perfect name for it. Any film guys out there, I'm available. You want a director?
You should probably check if there is a film named Sonder already.
Probably. It just reminds me of Wander Over Yonder.
That's what I'm...
Sonder film. 2018.
Hey, look at that. You made your 2 years late.
Oh, of course. CGI meetup. Yeah, they're all over the place. But anyway, he gets there and Soul's like, oh, you're not Bjorgensen. Okay, so what can we do? And he goes, well, I want your Earth Pass so that I can go back. And both characters are like, okay, well, I can stay here and you can go back to Earth. That'd be perfect. Of course, it has to be completed Earth Pass. 22 has still not found her spark yet. So in order to get the Earth Pass, they need to find that spark. So they go to the Hall of Everything. Hall of Everything is anything on Earth that you can do. Now, there's theories that some of the characters we see involve like other Pixar films. So there's a scene where Soul is shooting a bow and arrow, and people are like, oh, that's Merida from Brave. No. Here's my problem with that theory. For anybody out there, if anybody thinks that, you're wrong. Wow.
You're just shutting down their theories like that.
Let me explain. So, okay, we have assumed that essentially when you jump into the portal, you land in, like, that's when you're born, is essentially you get your Earth Pass and you're born suddenly. But it's not like, okay, you're born in the 17th century kind of idea. It's not time travel device, it's you're on Earth.
No, but I feel like they were talking about like it's more of a reference to her.
Okay, yeah, and here's another thing, is that people online, and I can show you, this is to my people at Screen Rant, give me a break with this. 10 things you didn't know about Soul. The Chinese takeout box.
Why does that matter?
It can be seen as a magic box in A Bug's Life. Boo pops out of one in Monsters, Inc., and there is a box in Linguini's fridge.
What?
Cool. It's almost like people eat Chinese food like on a daily basis for some.
It's like Chinese food is good and people just want to eat takeout.
Maybe it's like a recognizable thing.
Oh, no.
So, and you know what's gonna blow what's gonna blow your mind?
What?
There's actually two.
Oh.
Two Chinese food boxes
no
in
way.
here. Blah blah. Once it can be seen on the hedge fund manager's desk. So right here.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second one is spotted when 22 in Joe's body crashes into a garbage can and knocks it over, spilling trash out onto the sidewalk, which includes the takeout box. Whoa!
I feel like they're really like pickpocketing anything they can find.
They're like, we need something to talk about with this film, and it's like the Chinese
And just
box.
put it in a random number. People aren't gonna notice.
Yeah, and it's like some I understand. Like one of the subway trains is 2319.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's in like every like
no, that's A113.
No, A113.
2319 is Monsters Inc.
Ah, okay.
2319. We are 2319. But I don't like the Chinese box. So, they decided, okay, let's try to figure out more about how we can get your Earth Pass. They go to the Hall of Everything. Nothing's really working. So, hello? I don't know if anybody heard that, but while we were recording, someone just went, "Hey-ya!" Okay.
I heard "Get out of here."
Oh. Uh-oh. Something's going on with the neighbors. But either way, our neighbors are fine. We love you, neighbors. They don't listen to this podcast, I bet.
You better hope they don't.
That better hope. So
just get a knock at your door.
Yeah, hello? So 22 takes Joe to the zone, where you can see all of these different souls suddenly floating, kind of doing their own thing. And I'm not a basketball fan, but I just like the line.
I love that. Bro, I think that was my favorite joke in the whole film. I mess with this team all the time. And the Knicks lose again!
They lose another one. I'm like, that was perfect. I don't know anything about basketball, but I like that one. And they kind of look more around. And this is where we're introduced to Moonwind, who is apparently just this guy who will help lost souls. Which I did enjoy that they touched base on that, of where something can become so obsessed, like people can become so in the zone that they become lost and it kind of becomes numbing.
Mm-hmm. Again, I feel like that was another way to try to explain how the zone takes you there.
Yeah, which, again... so what would you say gets you, like, in the zone? Like, what's one thing that can get you in the zone?
Honestly, just like listening to music, or just like for me, like playing a game and I get really into it, I guess, and like you get really focused on the game, where you like mistakes you would do, all of a sudden you're not making those same mistakes. Like you're just playing like a perfect game, like in a way, like in a multiplayer game. Like with music, you're just able to listen, and you can just close your eyes, and you just like, for example, like fall kind of like in a spell in a way.
You kind of go with
the
flow of the music.
You're kind of just like floating, like in a way, like you kind of just laying back, and like in a sense, you're kind of like you said, like floating with the music in a way.
I think that's why, like with Soul having a lot of
the
jazz
music was
kind of idea.
I did like the music.
Yeah, the music is interesting because when I started listening to it, I thought it was going to be all jazz, but then I didn't realize how much more like electronic music there was too, to indicate the grip before or after. So when listen like a Terry Time or Terry Time 2, it has like, it starts with jazz, but then it quickly turns into this electrical stuff, which is why I think Pixar did their research well, in the sense that like lo-fi and kind of chill beats are suddenly on the rise. Jazz is kind of there. I think this will skyrocket more jazz artists to come out. But that's a topic for later.
That can happen. Also with lo-fi, like I've been listening to a lot of that recently.
Yeah,
like especially with studying and stuff like that. I feel like lo-fi is like one of the best. It's relaxing, and it just helps you. I don't know, it just helps me focus.
Yeah, like with who is it? I think like a Chilled Cow, with like their live streams still getting like tens of thousands of listeners at once. I think that was probably what introduced everybody to that type of music. But either way, they learn more about it, and Joe goes, "Oh, you can connect people back to their bodies. Well, hey, hook me up." And he goes, "Oh, we've never gotten a soul back to an untethered soul, but perhaps if we go to a thin spot, yes, all aboard!" And then they go and they listen to like 60s music, and I'm like, "Oh yeah," and they go. And Moonwind goes, "Oh yeah, I'm on the corner in New York, and Joe knows where it is." And I'm like, "Haha, plot device. Something's gonna go wrong."
Oh yeah, this is this where he flips signs, right? If I was second.
Yeah, he's
Yeah,
a
that's what
sign
he was
flipper,
doing. If
but
I
you
remember, that's what he
can't
was
even
doing.
see anything he's doing. So I'm like, "What are you selling?" And they go to a thin spot. They get a circle, and Joe's about to go back. He's in the hospital. He can smell the air. He can hear the sounds. But then, being the klutz, he falls in with 22, and then, sure enough, we get one, a mishap, and two, just a great merchandise suddenly with Soul Cat. Have you noticed that? Like, Soul's really pushing this cat thing, and I'm like, do you not realize that cat is essentially dead, or at least one of their lives are gone? Like the whole cats have 8 or 9 lives.
Nine lives.
9 lives. Cats have 9 lives. Did one of their souls just get kicked out to the great beyond?
It's just like piece by piece. Each it's like a piece of the cat just goes away. This time it's one of the legs, and this it's like
it's
the
like
leg is gone.
You just see a leg going up the conveyor belt. It's like, what?
The cat's slowly gonna
Mr. Mittens or whatever his name was. So Joe is now in Mr. Mittens' body, or the cat, and 22 is now in Joe's body. And this is like halfway through the film. And they're like, "Oh, well, we got to figure out how to switch this back. Let's go find Moonwind." And this is kind of more of what I expected the film to be. This is where I considered the film to start, was when we start to learn more about, we get an outsider's point of view on somebody's life, which I think is very interesting. Because in 22, in Inside Out, we kind of saw that with the emotions of like them viewing one life in different ways and different attitudes, but we never really saw how they viewed other people's lives and other people's choices. I think the closest we got was the dinner fight in that scene.
Yeah.
But we never saw them communicating with each other directly, like the emotions, I mean. So in this one, to see 22 live out somebody else's life was just the unique turn that I think needed to happen for this film. So they get back home. 22 is a bit nervous. Oh, let us return to a screen rant. Here was another thing I wanted to talk about. Apparently, there was a meme where there was just... screen rant, you live another day. But there was something I read that was like... there was a meme going around where like this rat was just dragging pizza down the street. And they were like, "Oh, Pixar
Right.
put it in because that happened." And I'm like, but rats eating food is a thing. Rizzo's Pizzeria in Disney World. That's a thing. So they were like, "Yeah, Pixar put a meme in their film." Sure they did. Okay, when I meet Pete Doctor, I'll go up to him, get him in a podcast. First question. Memes. Soul? Pizza.
He's gonna sit there and be like, "Yeah, that was a meme. The whole movie was a meme, and people didn't realize."
The whole movie was a meme. So, 22 is kind of still a bit nervous, but eventually she does get home, and we kind of see her start learning more about the world around her.
And seeing that, I feel like that was one of the more interesting parts of the film, because again, she's not used to this world; she's used to the before life, right?
The great before, yeah.
And
or the U seminar.
And she's used to that, so it's like being in this new world, you get to see how someone who's never interacted, like in this world, sees this world, and like they're in shock and they're in awe to be part of it, and they like, and we see 22 really like fall in love with the world that she's in and around.
Yeah, we kind of see, because when you look at the two, when 22 gets onto Earth, she's scared, but she is still willing to give it a chance after a bit of convincing. When Joe went to the Great Before, flat out denying everything and assuming he knows everything that's going on.
And then, for example, it's like also cool to see how, she never wanted to be in the part of this world. Like, she never wanted to. That's why another reason she's in the Great Before. Like, she's terrified of this world and just doesn't want to be part of it at all. And then now seeing it, and like we get to see her transformation of how, in a way, like she's changing in a way where she's really actually enjoying the world.
Yeah, she's getting different perspectives, and we really see her start beginning to enjoy Earth when one of the students from Joe's class shows up and goes, "I quit." Yeah. And we've all...
And that's to convince her.
Yeah, but with this scene, I thought it was interesting because it's such like a small scene that doesn't impact in a big way. But after watching a couple times, it's the way that 22 handled it was essentially, you should quit. Like, just like bet, do it. And after seeing the student go like, oh, well, I've been working on a piece, it was neat because you saw her suddenly finding out for herself that she was actually good at it, which is something I feel like a lot of people do go through, is in the sense that you can do something, but there's always going to be like that self-doubt, something that's telling you, I'm not good enough, I can't do it.
And it's kind of fun because her telling her to quit is what made her want to stay as well because of that. And it's kind of funny because now I'm just imagining 22 as a therapist. Like to all our
well yeah, and
all our clients, they're trying to like fix our relationship. No, you should get a divorce, you know. And then they start talking. They start to realize like how much they love each other, and it stops them. And she's just sits there and be like, another job done,
solved, another case. But yeah, and we're gonna get into that later with like where we think 22 got. But yeah, she begins to realize like, oh, she didn't quit because she's good at it. Okay. And this is where we get a call from Joe's older student, who's now an adult, saying, hey, Dorothea Williams saw you in that hospital gown while you were walking down New York. She's freaked out. I'm freaked out. We're all a bit freaked out. She hired some other guy, but hey, if you clean yourself up, get a nice suit, look smooth, get here, I'll try to convince her, kind of idea. And he goes, okay, let's do that. So now the rest of the film is pretty much dedicated to getting Joe to this recital, while, having some good laughs and some deep thoughts.
It's getting Joe to the recital while also getting him back in his body.
Yeah, because or 22's up there going, twinkle, twinkle, little star. So we see 22 going about with this whole kind of life, and when we go back into the city after he leaves his apartment, before that, Joe as a cat has a little razor and he's shaking. He goes, don't move. And then sure enough, he slips. Hair right in the middle gets cut. Oh no, a plot device. So they go, oh man, we gotta go get a haircut. Which, miracle that the guy could get that haircut just like that. But walks in, takes off his hat, and he goes, whoa, all right, you gotta get here. And sits down, starts getting a haircut. But it's 22 talking to the barber. Which let me see if I can find the name. You take over.
Which, in that scene, I remember, it completely changes the barber. Like, he's in shock because all he usually talks about is jazz. And now that, that he's talking more, you kind of see the relationship that, the barber has with his clients as well, where usually he just talks about, the things they want to talk to. And, like, seeing it, like, he was surprised that Joe, is trying to talk more about different things and how he is. And it helps to build up the barber's character itself in a way, and helps to show how, like, it also kind of helps to build Joe, and how we see he's really in love with jazz, and that's kind of all he talks about. He doesn't really try to think about what other people are going through. He kind of only thinks about himself.
Yeah, he's very self-centered.
Yeah, we see a lot of his self-centeredness and how he only thinks for example, that the barber only talks about jazz as well, and stuff like that.
Yeah, and the barber's name is apparently Dez, but. Yeah, seeing his own life from a different perspective.
Yeah, and because what helps is this again why 22. I'm gonna hold on till the end for that.
We'll get there. But we also just like a side note, Davy Diggs, the person that played. Oh, I'm gonna anger so many people if I can't remember the name. Lafayette in Hamilton. Suddenly he's in this film, and it's like, okay. if you're listening to this, which you're not, but if you are, we get it. You got on Hamilton during on Disney Plus. Now you're in Disney Pixar. I saw you on the Super Bowl commercial with Sesame Street. Slow down. Seen a lot of that.
But I can make them get even more angry. Do you know who Diggs played? Do you remember?
Well, I remember in Hamilton? The character, but he played Lafayette.
Oh yeah, you did say that.
I did. Yeah.
I should pay more attention. But what is it? Also, Okay, with 22, with the barber, what I liked it is like we get to see that the barber himself also, because again, 22 is speaking and feels like again she's able to bring more of the human side to people as well, and we see that the barber, I forgot what the barber's dream was, but he also had dreams that he couldn't do.
Yeah, he explained that he wanted to be a veterinarian, but then he had a kid, and then things kind of turned, but he still enjoys.
But he's really enjoyed what he has, and he enjoys the life that he has.
Yeah, like I at the same point, I'm kind of like, Des, go for it, like idea. But if he's happy where he is and that's his choice, all right. And then
and again, it kind of shows like how the different perspectives of Joe and the barber, where the barber, he, even though he couldn't reach his dream, he found another way to look for it, while Joe, because he didn't reach his dream, that's the only thing he ever focused on, and the only thing he keeps staying focused on. He didn't try to find another way to try to be happy.
Yeah, he's like, this is my goal. I'm getting to that goal kind of idea.
And that kind of helps to show like the big difference where it's like, because even though he couldn't go for his dream, you should still try to find a way to look for that happiness and to look to where you can be happy with, compared to with Joe's perspective, where because he couldn't reach his dream, that's it. He can't find happiness.
Yeah. Now, this, for everybody who hasn't seen the film, one, maybe pause and actually watch up to this point, because now we're starting to get into the film. But also, when Soul's talking about like, oh, these people didn't achieve their dreams, but they're still happy, it is interesting, because so far Disney as a company is follow your dream, get your dream, no matter what, get your dream. Like we were talking about Tangled a little bit ago, and in the sense that Rapunzel had a dream, she got that dream, which is great. But I did like that
best Disney film, by the way. Oh, continue on.
Well, Disney Princess, but yeah, it's like you get this Disney aspect, and you walk into a film expecting that, and then suddenly you're kind of told, listen, we know we've been telling you follow your dream. We are still telling you to follow your dream, but we are also saying that there are other things out in life that will make you and others happy as well, which I thought was that was a message that I feel like kids would have to learn early on.
Yeah, and that's something like again where it's more of an adult message, because like as a kid, it's like why does this matter?
I would have no idea what they're talking about in this type of scene, but I'm glad. I feel like this film, like, and I know it's a saying that's been thrown around for a lot of films, but this is the first one that I felt has come out at the perfect time, where we're all locked in, and it's like things look really bad and kind of scary, but at the same point, we still have to be there for everybody. So, props, Disney, good job, you made another one. So he leaves, he gets a good haircut. Des is like, you know what? I really enjoyed our conversation. They're good, but whoa. Out of the scene, the character we all forgot about, Terry. You don't remember Terry, do you?
I don't remember Terry.
Remember Terry, the anti-Jerry that's going around?
Oh, Terry. Yeah, Terry's the one that's looking for Joe. The one that's looking for his soul, right?
Yeah, Terry. Yeah,
Terry
time.
I remember.
It's
the one
time.
The one where all the other Jerrys are just they don't really like it.
Yeah, she counts everything, and she's like, you blinked 5 times. 6. So Terry's all around the world, kind of like trying to find him, and thinks she's like, I got you, and no, it's just Abby Diggs. Puts him back up, and then it's like, all right, you do good, and then she's kind of in the background trying to find everything. A little bit later, we get there was so A113 is like the big number that
Disney always
or Pixar always has in their films. This movie apparently had 3. 2 of them I like. Other one, I'm like, this is ridiculous. So Screen Rant says, in this film, the famous A113 can be found 3 times, which, for anybody who doesn't know, A113 is a famous classroom where a lot of the California Institute of the Arts, like Pixar animators, come from, so they like to honor it. So once on a street sign in the Hall of Everything. Okay, that's fine. Once as graffiti in New York. All right, makes sense. I could kind of see it, but fine. Fans may have only noticed the first 2, but the third reference is a bit harder to spot. So there's a scene where Terry's going through Joe's own apartment, and she hits the A1 key on the tuning of 113. Here's my problem with that. That would be A1113. So I'm like, it's almost, I kind of get it, but
Well,
also I don't want to.
Listen, we need to keep...
Who figured that out? Who's like, oh, I see it. Who's first viewing? They're like, ah, yes, the tuning, 113, of course. Obviously, you peasants haven't figured that out yet. It's like, listen, man, I want to learn the ukulele, but I haven't yet.
It's like, I think you'd have to watch the film so many times to a point where it's like, oh my gosh, something I didn't notice before.
Yeah. So we get near the end. It's kind of the same back and forth of 22 learning about the world or learning about everything here and there. There's one street musician. I like his song where, like, Love is Love. I'm usually not into that type of music, but I kind of like that they paused and really focused on that. It's like, nice song. I like that. And eventually we get into 22 rips the suit.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Uh-oh.
And then Joe gets mad.
They're like, oh, no, we got to go to my mom. Uh-oh. So they get to the mom. And they walk in, and I thought that this scene was I know I said that about a lot of these scenes so far, but this scene has been, like, very different from what I've expected. Because we may have all, even if we haven't had that talk with our parent that's like kind of defying it or kind of like going like, no, I want to chase after our dreams. We've all had that fear of talking to like an adult or like someone who has quote unquote more power than us kind of idea, whether it be like a boss or a parent or a grandmother. With this scene, it was the first time that Joe has finally, from our understanding, decided to put his foot down and go, no, Mom, this is what I'm doing. And the line he said at the very end, and I'm gonna get personal here on your podcast, in the sense of the last line he says in his whole little monologue is, "I'm afraid if I died today, that my life would have accounted to nothing." And I was like, holy cow, that's what made me love this film.
And I feel like that is a very strong line, because that's what I feel like a lot of people feel about, life.
Yeah, I mean, back in high school, like I've talked to you about it too, my parents, 10th and 11th grade, even 9th grade, was kind of that thought, was, because in high school, at least in America, it's very much, okay, you graduate high school, you need to go to college. If you don't go to college, then, oh no. But there's plenty of people out there, tons of people out there who have not gone to college, and they're still very successful.
A.k.a. one of our friends.
Well, I'm not calling them out, but in the sense of like, I don't, and I'm not saying for anybody who's out there going like, oh, so we shouldn't go to college because I heard it on a podcast. No, keep going to college if that's what you want to do. Anthony and I are going to college because that's what we want to do. We want to keep going.
Depends what you want to do and where you want to reach.
Yeah, it's really do what makes you happy. If you're going to college because your parents have told you, or because like you're like, I need to do this because of like you're pressuring yourself to go, you are wasting your money. You really are, in the sense of, if you're going to go to college just to get the degree and like that's it.
Well, I mean, I feel like sometimes like people have no idea what they want to do, and even like going to college, like they're afraid and they don't know what they want to do, and they're not enjoying it. But I feel like a lot of times, like that's sometimes where you have to kind of search at college where you want to be and study different things. And it could take time, where eventually then you finally hit the click, and that's finally what you want to do. Exactly.
For some, it might take like right after high school, you just immediately go. But for others, it might be like when you're in your 20s or 30s, and that's okay. It's fine if you decide, oh, maybe I want to switch my life to do this because I'm really passionate about that. Then do it. Who's stopping you other than yourself? Like, a little bit of a promotional plug here, I guess, on here. Like with this year, because of everything that's been going on, for people who don't know, I have my own YouTube channel. For our audio listeners, love ya. If you want to visit, that'd be pretty cool. But in the sense of like last year, really,
you mean I have a YouTube channel, right?
AAA Studios. Yeah, sorry, but yeah, like with your Christmas album, made a Christmas album, and it was very much, let's do something ridiculous. Let's do something crazy. And we did. Is it the best Christmas album out there? No.
What do you mean? 10 out of 10, bro. Let me tell you, me being part of it.
Your parts, exactly. Holy cow. Like, your everyone that was on it,
But my
parts were flat.
amazing.
But in the sense of, like, I challenged myself to do something, and I did it. I followed through with it. And that's why, like, on my channel, we're making crazy things, and I got so many more ideas, and we're gonna be trying different things and new ideas, fighting more people on, and it's just something that's fun to do. Is it going to explode? If it does, that'd be cool. But at this moment in time, it's essentially we're sitting around 112 subscribers, which thanks guys. But it's just kind of like, stick with me. Let's see where we can go. And like I don't like doing that thing where it's like share it, but not in the sense of like share it because I need the views, but because I want other people to watch it too and also be happy.
Don't worry, I got this. Like, subscribe, and share the video. Go on Facebook, Twitter, anything, bro. I got you. And share my podcast and my YouTube channel.
Tumblr, Snapchat,
anything, bro.
I was gonna say Tinder, but I think that'd be weird.
Hey, if you really want to, bro, start a conversation with someone. Hey, have you heard about Triple J Studios?
Oh man, I love it.
Let me tell you, you're not gonna get anybody, but.
But maybe I'll spark love. It'll be like, hey, do you like Triple J Studios? Oh yeah, I love The Pianist and the Dancer. His short film. Yeah, you want to get a coffee date and go talk about it more? Yeah. Are you subscribed? No. Oh well, I can't yet. All right, I'm subscribed. Perfect. Let's go.
Exactly.
Love advice.
Now back to song.
Either way, sorry. I like we haven't really had like a deep conversation like that, but this film really demands that type of stuff to be talked about. So 22 goes through all of it, and we find Moonwind, and Moonwind goes, all right, meet me here at this time, like right outside the half point, be set to go. And this is when 22 and Joe kind of get into this huge argument, because 22 is thinking she's found her spark, or maybe walking is her spark, or just like all these different feelings she's suddenly having could be her spark, and Joe flat out denies it.
Yeah, because whatever, she kind of realized, like, literally anything can be your spark. It's not like, it doesn't have to be just a talent or something like that. Literally, it could be anything.
Yeah, it could just be like tapping or walking or eating or cooking or something like that. And Joe goes, no, because one, those aren't sparks. Those are just kind of living. And then also, she's getting all of these sparks because she's in his body, which I get it, but
like I said, it's kind of, that's one thing I like. That's one thing. There's a whole film. Even at the, I just cannot like Joe as a character. He just so many times it would annoy me. It would annoy me so many times.
Now I did like near the end result of Joe. Fine, but most of the film is kind of back and forth. So
just keep going.
22 runs away. Joe runs after him, and then as a cat still. And then suddenly, Terry comes out of nowhere and goes, gotcha! Opens a portal, and then there they go. And they go back to the Great Before It. They're still fighting. And then Terry goes, it's over. They walk back, and Joe is about to be sent to the Great Before, but then 22 throws the Earth Pass.
So just take it.
Take it, I don't want to go. So Joe decides to take it and go. Like, are you kidding?
And then 22 goes, what is that place? The Sea of Lost?
What was it called? The Zone.
Is that where that? Yeah, the Zone. But that's also where Lost Souls go as well.
Yep, and that's exactly what she turns into, a soul who's been lost. And even as she's walking away, she's mumbling like, I'm worthless, I'm nothing, can't do anything. And I like that deep topic to cover. It's like, you thought Up was hard? Okay, now discuss this with your 5-year-old. And Joe does go back. Joe goes back, he gets the gig, and it's a wonderful show. And there is a quote that Dorothea Williams talks about, and I thought it was perfect. Here we go. Hold on, guys. Here we go. So Joe gets out, and he goes, so what now? What do we do next? Kind of idea. And Dorothea Williams, as marvelous as ever, goes, I heard this story about a fish. He swims up to this older fish and says, I'm trying to find this thing they call the ocean. The ocean, says the older fish. That's what you're in right now. This, says the young fish, this is water. What I want is the ocean. And then it's silence for the next, 4 to 5 minutes. Perfect. because it gives, in the sense of it gives the audience time to really reflect on what she's saying and also how Joe is feeling. And it's like dead quiet. Picture this. It's Christmas Day. You've gotten your gifts, you gotten your food, you're around family, and then your guy's like, hey, you want to watch a funny Disney film? And you put this on, and it's now 9 p.m, and you're just watching it going, wow, that's deep. That was Christmas for me. I was with my grandparents, and I'm looking over at them going, well, Pop-Up's asleep. Grandma is doing something. Mom and Dad are on their phone, and I'm having an existential crisis. So
what a Christmas!
Merry Christmas, all. But yeah, it's that kind of quote that really made me think more.
It makes you really think about the film and how the deep meanings kind of behind it in a way.
Yeah, in the sense of like, it's always, okay, what's next? Like, you're born, what next? You walk, what next? You go to school, what next? You graduate, what next? You get a job, what's next? Like,
you always
go?
keep asking, you keep wondering where you're gonna be and where you're gonna be in life.
And I'm kind of in a state now, which I kind of like, which is a mixture of what's next and how do I get there. Mm-hmm. So I think when I ask myself those two questions, I'm able to get a clear path. When it's just what's next, terrifying because I have no idea what's next. But how do I get there? If I get a goal, I can get there.
I feel like that's the fun part though, is when you don't know what's next, you have to figure it out, and that's the whole fun. It can be a surprise.
Sometimes, like but most of the time, yeah, I'm happy to say.
Sometimes you get those humps, but when you get past those humps, it's just that much more.
Yeah, like fun. Especially with like even this podcast, it's like, all right, we're gonna do podcast. What's next? We're gonna keep doing it, but Jared needs to take like a 6-month break.
And then
October to
now. By the way, can't wait till next year for the next one.
This is gonna be a bi-yearly.
I'm gonna tell you guys in advance. After this. This is a lot of hard work. I'm taking like an 8-month break. So don't expect anything.
That's how long it takes to render the film or the audio. But the scene during this like reflection that Joe has demonstrates Sonder perfectly, where it's essentially. You see Joe in his apartment, then you see his building, then you see New York City, then you see Earth, then you see the universe. And just like that zoom out was the first time that I was kind of taken back from a film in a long time. Like, oh, holy cow. There are tons of millions of billions of people, all with their own unique story and their own travels. It's like, even like
such a small place.
It's so small, but there's so many people in like this one little area.
There's a reason there's a ride.
But and Joe gets back in the zone, and because we're coming up to the last few minutes of the film,
we gotta save 22.
So
we come and it's like kind of weird. It's kind of like we see this monster. That's what happened in 22. We see this of what she's become, where like all this negative emotion has caused, and you can see how much pain. Like you can just see how much pain the blob itself is in, and
running away.
Yeah, and what it kind of shows what these negative emotions can do to somebody, where you try to hide all this pain, and like even though like in a sense like. While 22 itself looks so small, the pain is so much bigger.
Yeah, and then when we finally travel into the soul, like the broken soul, you see how much anger is coming from, like not only her, but also every mentor has essentially bombarded her with negative thoughts, going like, "You're not good enough. You'll never understand." She's quoting Joe too.
Yeah, she reached the breaking point.
Mm-hmm. And then Joe just takes like a little. Like leaf flower petal from when they were on Earth and goes here. That kind of calms her down, which is it's very interesting. Like the saying of "you never know what's going on in somebody's emotion" demonstrated perfectly with this scene kind of idea. So 22 and Joe kind of have like a little heart to heart, and Joe gives the badge back to 22. She says she's scared, and he goes, "Oh, don't worry, I'll go with you." They both jump down. 22 keeps going, but Joe is slowly lifted back up because he doesn't have an earth pass.
And then Jerry!
They go, all right, well, guess it's time. And Joe goes back to the great beyond. He's on the path. And it's finally at this moment where he accepts death. He's like, you know what? I've done it. Let's just see where the rest goes. And then Jerry pops back up, Jerry, and goes like, you know what? That's pretty cool. Let me open this convenient door for you so you can get back to Earth. And then he does. And then he's like, Jerry goes, what are you going to do with the rest of your life? And he goes, you know what? I don't know, but I'm going to make the most of it. End credits. Beautiful. I wish the original ending happened. The original ending was that Joe died, but Disney went, no. Because that would have been too dark.
I feel like that happens so often. I feel like with a bunch of Disney films where it's like, there could be so much more meaning behind, like, especially endings. Like, again, like I was talking about earlier, Frozen 2 and Olaf. Yeah. I feel like if they had actually killed off Olaf, it would have meant so much more to the film and it would give more meaning to the film. Because I feel like the song about death, the song about death and stuff like that, where it's like that song would have had more of a meaning to it if Olaf actually died. Like how you actually have to really try to move on, and while it may affect you, you have to look up and look at the positives of life and keep going. And I feel like I feel like stuff like that where like Disney, like it gets close to being able to hit a point, and they just refuse to allow. They
refuse to bite the bullet. Yeah. It's just like, you know, that would have been a perfect ending if it was suddenly like Joe is like, he holds his arms out, he's smiling, he's ready for death, and then suddenly you just fade to black, and then you fade in Soul, and the credits roll. You don't like that. I would have rathered, because not in the sense of like I want Joe to die, but in the sense of I want like there to be acceptance. I want there to be like when you leave to be like, huh, like really think about it, not just Joe's suddenly back at home and he's gonna live a perfect life after that, because that's not the case. It's not like you go on this grand adventure and then suddenly you're like, perfect, I'm all set to go. Let's keep going. But either way, the ending was fine because, like you say with a lot of other films, it leaves the door open to interpretation. Because we don't know what Joe does. Does Joe go back to Dorothea Williams now that he has the gig, or does he? I would like to think teaching, because I feel like again when the student showed up, it took him off guard. It took him off guard too, and it kind of affected him in a way where he saw all the work he's been putting in to try to help these students in a way is actually I would like to see him like still teaching and but still have like his jazz career as like a side gig. That's what I'm saying, as a side gig. I feel like he just goes and enjoys and has some fun over there. Like that's fine.
And then so yeah, and then 22. I'm on. She's gonna be a therapist.
you think she'll be a therapist?
Literally, the way she basically was a therapist the most of the film.
Pretty much, yeah. She essentially knew everything, especially in like the barber scene we were talking about before, when she said, like, is all of this living really worth dying for?
With the it's especially even with the kid, again, helps the kid to get back to being motivated and all that. The barber, like I said, she's just gonna be a therapist. In a way, she again helped Joe to become again therapist things. There you go, a perfect therapist. 22.
Here's another problem I have with some of the theories online is there's a big theory going around that 22 is going to be Boo from Monsters Inc. And that's supposed to be like the Pixar theory kind of thing.
That's how it's connected.
I don't know if that's how the creator of the theory has said it, but a lot of people are saying it that way. I'll look it up. But
the issue is we don't know, and it's like I feel like when it comes to the Pixar theory, you kind of need there's at least things that help to connect it. And this is more of a theoretical.
Pixar theory. Yeah, it. All right, here we go. Yeah, so another big theory is that 22 isn't a human. Said she might be an animal.
Huh?
How Soul fits into the Pixar theories. Let's go on to a reliable source like Reddit.
10 out of 10.
Yeah, see, people are like too much. Okay, so, man, you were getting way too deep. This type of stuff.
You're really, really searching and stretching.
What? All right, I'm reading some of this stuff, and they're like, well, Coco is like the great beyond the beyond, and I'm like, well,
no, then why didn't he go there as well?
Yeah, there's not enough I guess there's not
There's
enough
way
here.
too much. They're trying to connect it to a crazy amount.
They're
I did
forcing
feel
it
like
in.
what is it? I was about to say that I did feel like the Great Beyond, the Great Before, it kind of felt like in a way, kind of like Coco and their death, but at the same time, it's too different. It's so different.
Yeah, I don't know, but either way, that is Soul. So overall, out of let's say out of 10 slices of pizza, and it could be whatever flavor you want.
7.5.
7.5.
I don't know. It's just, to me, I like the film. Is just, it's good, but that's all it is to me. It's just good. I didn't feel like it was. I feel like the message, the theming is great and all, but I don't feel like this is a film I'm going to remember for like a long time. It's not like the Ratatouille. It's not like.
It's not a fun movie. It's just
No,
more of a
even
cute
it's not
movie.
the fact that it's not fun. The fact of the matter is like the message, like it can stick. It's not something like I would come back and watch again and again. Like even if it's not a fun film, there's films where like have really hard meaning. For example, A Silent Voice. Like the meaning
Yeah.
of that is so much memorable, and to me, like I love that film so much, and I can watch that again and again and again, and like it still hits me the same way. I feel like this is just a film where like I'll watch it once, maybe twice, and I mean it's cool
Call it
and
a
all,
day.
but it's not like it's not something where I feel like I can come back. I feel like there's something missing in a way. It's like how people all even talk about Onwards and how there's something missing in that, and how it's like to me that's just the same thing where it's like I don't know. It's a good film. It's just it's not a film I'm just gonna come back and watch.
What would be like that missing part for you, do you think?
That's the hard part. Like I don't know where to put it. Like I feel like the maybe it's just the characters themselves where I couldn't fall in love with them in general. Like I like 22, but I didn't fall in love with 22. I
True.
liked
And Joe was kind of a jerk
Joe,
for a majority of the
and like
movie.
I said, like Joe,
Yourself,
but that's the
Santu.
whole point of his character. That's how he's supposed to be.
Right.
And like I understand that, but it's like again, I feel like the film would have been more memorable, like you said, if the ending had been he actually had died, and I feel like that would have affected me more. Like wow, he like all that, and he could finally accept what was going to happen. He finally turned from a character who was all selfishness and all that, and instead he becomes that, which I understand. Like it's still like the message still works in a way, but I feel like it would have been more meaningful if he had actually died.
True.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I kind of have like a different view on it. I've seen the movie twice. One on Christmas, but again because I wanted to really analyze each scene and kind of get like what they're trying to convey in each scene. So like I would watch the barber scene and then I would watch this 22 walking around. So overall, this was a film that I personally enjoyed, just in the sense of like watching it. I could kind of, I couldn't connect to it probably as much as like an 80-year-old man, but in the sense of watching it, I did understand some parts of every character. Like there were certain things that I was like, oh, well, I understand Joe is like really passionate for his work and he really wants to get this one goal. But I also understand 22's viewpoint of like, why are we here? And also just like, what's the point? So mixing it all together, I was able to enjoy the film enough that I wanted to watch it again. So I was going to give it a 9. But that's because like I enjoy like all of that kind of stuff and like looking at other people's lives and kind of like there's a game where you can play where it's just you walk around, you try to imagine everyone's types of lives, and I enjoyed playing that game. So seeing it in this type of aspect where you really see everybody's life, it kind of took that game away. And I was like, no, really, realistically, how do you think these people act? And they're all cartoons. Like,
and I feel like
the
way you feel that is the way I feel about Inside Out.
Yes.
And I feel like we have it's complete opposite on that, where I feel the deep meaning of Inside Out, where the kid feels there's so much pressure on the child and it really affects him. And I feel like there's times where even like I felt like that and they could connect it more as well. Maybe that's another reason.
Yeah.
And I feel like me personally, like I think for me, like again, if we do Inside Out, I'm not going to give any rating just because in case we do Inside Out,
right,
I won't give that rating yet. But I feel like for me personally, like Inside Out to me, like you said, it was like I feel like we're very opposite on this. Where Inside Out is the okay film for you, and to me, I find more meaning, and I find
hold your horses. I still think Inside Out is a good film.
No, but that's the same thing with me.
But of
I'm
the two, I am saying you're right. I am saying that like Soul to me is better than Inside Out.
And that's what I'm saying. And to me, that's
versa.
what I'm saying. It's like we have where again, I think Soul is a good film, but to me, Inside Out is is the winner.
Yeah.
Where again, I feel like maybe in a sense, this is kind of a way. In a way, I feel like the closest comparison you can get to Soul is Inside Out, where I feel like some of the meanings of Inside Out come along with Soul in a way.
A Bug's Life and Soul, you kidding?
But yeah, overall, I don't hate the film.
You just wish there was a bit more.
I wish there was a bit more. And I wish Disney would take more risks and stuff like that with like endings again. Like with example, if he had died, I feel like it would have had just more meaning in general.
And I'm kind of getting off topic now, but like I think that's why, and we'll wrap up your podcast in a minute. But in the sense of like, I think that's why a lot of like anime and Japanese kind of films or like other cultures are kind of pushing that boundary, is because not that they can take risks, but in the sense that they know that they're willing to take those risks will get more profit and more recognition compared to like Disney of being, no, he lives.
Well, I feel like it's also because this is the way they've done things for so long, and it's worked for so long. So what's the point? Why take these risks when you don't need to?
I think the biggest risk Disney has taken last has been Bambi.
Bambi, oh yeah.
Other than that, that's kind of like where they're like, maybe we should pull back a little.
I mean, I would like to say Onward, but the fact that actually in a way, Onward in a way is kind of a risk they take where he's there for that day and that's it. He's gone. True. Where I feel like Onward in a way had that risk. Kind of. I don't feel like it's not as effective as Bambi. I feel
Bambi was kind of like bang, done. Let's continue the film.
That affects
Onward was kind of like a build up to it.
Me personally, I prefer Onward.
Yeah,
as well. But like I said, this film isn't bad. It's fun, but it's enjoyable. Also, before we go, I quit. I'm done. That's it. They're through. I am sick of this. I'm already tired of this. I need a break. I quit. You can have the podcast.
I can have it back?
Yeah.
But you signed the contract.
I'm done.
That's a paper. I was about to say that's a paper bottle.
I'm through.
All right. Well, thank you all, everybody, so much for coming to Anthony's first and only edition of the AAA podcast. Lawsuits are still pending for that copyright claim about the insurance company. I want to say it's been an honor to really just be back and talk about the podcast. And I guess as long as Anthony's gone, if you guys want to go down to the description, my YouTube channel's there. So if you want to subscribe, don't see this loser, don't see this bum. Come on over.
What'd you say?
I said that you have lovely hair.
Thank you.
And until next time, we will see you all later. Bye.